Did you know that the legend of Stephen Curry is born in the weirdest game the NBA has ever seen? His first 40+ point game was in a madness that the refs had to literally go back to the rulebook to manage this situation. It's April 14th, 2010, on a Wednesday night, the last game of the season. The Warriors are about to close out a challenging season with a road game against the Blazers. They've battled injuries, roster changes, traded, waived and signed players through the season. But this night was about to become a legendary one. The Warriors entered the game with only 6 healthy players, barely enough to comply with NBA rules, requiring a minimum of 8 dressed players. 2 players, Anthony Morrow and Ronny Turiaf, were in the roster but injured, making them ineligible to play. Then the starting lineup was Stephen Curry, Monta Ellis, Anthony Tolliver, Reggie Williams and Chris Hunter. The game was going well, but just 5 minutes and 20 seconds into the game, the Warriors' game plan took an unexpected turn. Starting center Chris Hunter suffered a knee injury, forcing him to the bench. Devin George, who was healthy but hadn't played, entered the game in his place. That leaves the Warriors with nothing left. But this was just the beginning of the madness. From this point on, there should not be any ejections, no 6 fouls or injuries. The game was going surprisingly well for the Warriors, with Curry and Ellis and Tolliver leading the charge. However, with less than 5 minutes to go, Devin George committed a foul, his 6th of the game, leading to automatic disqualification. The problem? The Warriors had no one left to play. The Warriors head coach John Nelson pleaded the refs to allow George to stay in the game because the other 2 dressed players could not play. However, the ref disagreed and the rulebook said they have to enter the game because they're suited up. Then Chris Hunter, who injured himself in the first quarter, entered the game and he could barely walk. Hunter with his strained knee lasted only 1 minute. At this point, it was bizarre. They were forced to put Anthony Turiaf into the game, who injured himself the previous game. But John Nelson was a smart man. Turiaf was forced into the game for about 15 seconds before committing a foul and claiming an injury. Then the turn was on the 8th player, Anthony Morrow, who was also injured and didn't even play the previous game. Well, he was even quicker than Ronny, playing for just 10 seconds and also claiming an existing injury. Then, finally, like John Nelson suggested, Devin George was back into the game with 3.5 minutes left to play. But this time, according to the NBA rulebook, if Devin George made a foul, it's automatically a technical foul for the team. With 3.5 minutes left into the season, Warriors had exhausted all their players. All 4 of their starters played the whole game, just George rested for 5 minutes. The Blazers were the favorites, but the Warriors had other plans. Over the next 3 minutes and 29 seconds, they went on 14-6 run, with Stephen Curry scoring 11 of those points. The Warriors limped away with 122-116 win against the Blazers. The players left the court victorious, knowing they had just been part of something truly extraordinary. Stephen Curry, his last game as a rookie, played 48 minutes and scored 42 points in the most bizarre game ever played. As coach Don Nelson said, they thought it was the greatest game they ever played. And you know what? They might be right. Because they won the weirdest game the NBA has ever seen and the legend of Stephen Curry was born. And the rest is history.